Hi, and welcome back to our channel. I'm Jennifer and this is Kate. And did you know that April is National Poetry Month? So we have definitely read our share of poems here through the years of our homeschooling.
So in honor of that, we wanted to share some of our favorite poems and poetry books with you today.
Some of these books are great for younger kids if you're putting together a poetry book basket, and some of them are good for any age, kids on up to adult.
So without any further ado, let's get started.
Okay, so as we go through our poetry books today, we have several questions for you along the way. And the first one is, are you someone who prefers long poems or short poems? Because I firmly believe that there are only two types of people in the world: the people who like poems that are really long and the people who prefer their poems short. I definitely fall into the short poem category. I like short and to the point. Super long epics like Beowulf, that is just not my thing.
And I am also definitely a short poem person, but let us know down in the comments which side of the line you fall on.
So we've divided our poetry books today up into different categories, and the first one is just general anthologies. They don't have any particular theme, but you're always going to find a really good poem on any topic in one of these.
So the first one is the Random House Book of Poetry for Children, which is obviously geared towards kids. And there is a wonderful selection of poems in this book to read and recite. And we found one of our very favorite poems in here, Roger the Dog by Ted Hughes. And we definitely think that that poem was written about a beagle.
So we're going to read you a little bit of that poem, and just let us know if you think, does this not definitely describe a beagle? He will not race, he will not romp. He saves his strength for gobble and chomp. He'll work as hard as you could wish, emptying his dinner dish. So we just feel as though that describes Bishop Beagle perfectly. So we also enjoy the great illustrations in this one by Arnold Lobel.
Our next anthology is Favorite Poems, Old and New, selected by Helen Ferris. And this one has poems for all different ages in it. And as you can see by all the bookmarks that we have, it has been a go-to poetry book in our house.
This one has a lot of great poems in it that pair well with nature study. So down through the years, we have definitely memorized a lot of poems from this one.
Which brings us to our next poetry question for you, and that is, do you memorize poetry? Or have you ever memorized poetry, or had your kids memorize poetry? Let us know in the comments.
So when I was in 5th grade, I had a teacher named Sister Dominic who made us memorize poetry, and I still remember a lot of the poems that she taught us. I always felt like that was a gift that she gave me, so we are definitely poetry memorizers here.
The third anthology we have is A Child's Introduction to Poetry. And this book has a lot more in it than just poems. There are biographies of the poets, there are fun facts, explanations about the different types of poetry, and of course, great illustrations.
This one also has an audio track that goes with it that takes learning poetry to a whole new level, and it's just great for your auditory learners. I still remember the first time we listened to a poem by Dylan Thomas from this book called Do Not Go Gentle into That Dark Night. The kids were so swept up by the audio track for that one that the room was just completely silent.
The next category we have is seasonal poetry. Poems to take you all the way through the year. And the first book is A Child's Calendar by John Updike, which has a poem for every month of the year and also these beautiful, colorful illustrations.
The poems in this one just beg to be memorized. And one of our favorites is the poem for the month of August, and it starts like this. The sprinkler twirls, the summer wanes, the pavement wears popsicle stains. What I love so much about this book is that the author manages to capture all the fun of each month so vividly. It was a favorite for my kids.
Another favorite here is The Year Around, Poems for Children, selected by Alice Hazelton and Ava Smith. And again, this one will take you all the way through the year. And if you're looking for good poems to memorize, there is a great selection in here for kids.
This one was a real find for us. I saw someone recommend it online, so I took a chance and bought a copy, and it has always been a favorite. Again, you can see it's pretty well bookmarked, and my kids have always enjoyed it. It has nice black and white illustrations. They're very simple, but they're very sweet, and they just fit in with the whole theme of the book. And then lastly, we have just this little paperback called Winter Poems, selected by Barbara Rogaski, that has great poems to take you all the way through the winter and great illustrations to go with them. We especially enjoyed the poem called The Germ by Ogden Nash.
A mighty creature is the germ, though smaller than a pachyderm. His customary dwelling place is deep within the human race. So now let's talk about a poetry book series that we love, and that is definitely the Poetry for Young People series. So each book highlights a different poet or a different topic, and each one also has interesting illustrations.
So there are definitely a lot of different books in this series, and we have a little bit of a collection going on here. But my very favorite of the whole collection is the book about Robert Frost, because it turns out that Robert Frost is my very favorite poet. He just had such a way with words, and in general, he wrote short poems, which I like, but he also wrote my very favorite poem ever, which is called The Mending Wall. Something there is that doesn't love a wall.
Stopping by woods on a snowy evening is another favorite Robert Frost poem, and so is The Road Not Taken.
So you definitely can't go wrong with Robert Frost, best poet ever. So that leads us to our next question, and that is, do you have a favorite poem or a favorite poet? We are curious to hear what your favorites are, so leave us a comment down below.
Next, we're going to move on to some books that have some of our favorite illustrations in them. And the first one is Wings from the Wind, which is an anthology of poems that was illustrated by Tasha Tudor. And you can honestly not go wrong with her illustrations at all. And she has just taken these poems and really made them come alive with her artwork. And we'll put some of the pictures up on the screen for you.
Tasha Tudor is definitely a favorite here. Another fun book is this one, the Book of Animal Poetry from National Geographic, and it takes several great poems and pairs them with great pictures from National Geographic.
The Eagle. He clasps the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lowly lands. Ringed with the azure world he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls, he watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. By Alfred Lord Tennyson. So we've been slowly reading this book over our school year, and it's been a great change of pace with all the beautiful pictures from National Geographic. It was definitely a great find.
Lastly, we wanted to give you a glimpse at our homemade poetry book, which is this giant binder full of every poem that we've ever memorized, including Shakespeare.
So our goal was to memorize one poem a month when we were younger, and then they would all go collected into one place. We would keep the poem out in the schoolroom while we were learning it, and then it would go join its fellows in the binder.
So we want to show you a few from the binder that we really enjoyed. The first one is this one called Routine by Arthur Guiterman. We also love this one by Dixie Wilson called The Mist and All. I love the fall, the mist and all. And then of course Christmas Eve by Marian Eady is a longtime favorite here. It's just so dramatic and so edgy. We love this poem. So there are definitely so many great poetry books out there that it was really hard to narrow it down to just a few favorites, but there you go, National Poetry Month.
So also, again, let us know down in the comments your thoughts on poetry, long poems or short poems. Do you memorize poetry? Who's your favorite poet? We always love hearing from all of you.
So thank you so much for watching today. Go read a poem. We'll see you next time. Bye.